This is a partitioned 30 by 40 metal outbuilding. One side is an insulated shop, and the other side is an uninsulated storage area. I'm going to show how to insulate my shop roof by using foam board insulation. The ceiling is basically the underside of a metal roof. It does have a synthetic underlayment to deter moisture and condensation. Unfortunately, insulation wasn't installed when it was built. However, the walls do have R13 batting insulation. I'm installing Owens Corning Foamular 150. It has an R value of 7.5. The measurements are 4 by 8 foot sheets and is 1.5 inches thick. The foam board will be installed on the purlins and between the rafters. This also allows for an airspace between the roof and the insulation. They will be held into place using furring strips. These are 1 by 2 inch by 8 foot in length. These materials will be secured using 3 1/4 inch deck screws. Here's a scenario of what the layers will look like. Once the materials are gathered, start preparing the furring strips. Since the furring strips are fairly narrow, they will need to be pre-drilled to receive the screws. This will lower the risk of having splits. To begin, measure your purlin span. These are 24 inch to center. Then, measure and mark each furring strip to reflect these locations. Note that the holes on the ends should be marked within 1 inch from the edge. Next, drill the pilot holes at these marked increments, making sure you stay down the center of the strip. Once all the furring strips have been drilled, set aside and prepare for cutting the foam board. I found that a couple of sawhorses with a sheet of OSB made a good cutting station. I prefer to position the foam board with the picture side facing down. Once set up, measure the distance between the rafters before each cut. The measurement may vary as you go along. Once you have your measurements, mark the foam board for a custom fit. Then use a straight edge, such as a long piece of angle iron, to line up the marks. Strike a line down the straight edge using a permanent marker. Then use a snap blade utility knife to cut along the line. It's not necessary to cut all the way through. If it's scored deep enough, the piece can simply be snapped off. The foam can now be installed between the rafters. When placing the foam against the purlins, the end of the foam board should rest at the center point of the purlin. This will leave a nailer for the next sheet as they butt together. Use the edge of a scrap 2x4 to aid in the proper placement. Secure a furring strip on each side of the board against the rafters. Then place a furring strip down the center. Secure into place using 3 1/4 inch deck screws. A good tip for center placement is to cut a piece of foam and use it as a cheater. This will make the center placement a lot easier and more efficient each time. Repeat this method on the rest of the panels. You may come across areas that need a more custom fit, such as under a ridge cap. In this case, I custom cut and fit each section into place and secured it using washers and 2 inch deck screws. I used the same technique around the chimney's support box. If so desired, the seams can be sealed with spray foam and taped. I like the idea of unsealed seams just in case of moisture. I have been through the change of seasons since installing this, and the result has been significant.